I'm a 44 female. My sister died after giving birth, leaving 3 kids, BJ, Gracie, Jack. I have 2 kids of my own. I became their legal guardian. Their paternal grandparents and my parents were my biggest supporters, and my biggest curse in them being defiant against my wishes. My sister left me executor of her will, which includes an inheritance for the kids. Gracie was only 9 when she passed and struggled the most with her death. We did therapy. I come from a stern and firm military household, but it seems once my parents became grandparents, that stern and firmness went out the window. She was getting in trouble for things like bad disagreements with other people at school, bad-mouthing your siblings, especially the youngest, told him he's the reason their mother is dead, more than once, skipping class, etc. Things they felt didn't require a consequence, but a talk. Sorry, but I'm not about repeating myself. They didn't agree with me punishing her. They would often disregard her punishment once she was with them, which more than not equaled to them calling me because she was being disobedient. Anyhow, once they fell in line, so did she. When she turned 18, she received her first part of her inheritance, which she handled very well. It was when she moved out at 20 that the bad behavior started again. Her paternal grandparents passed a year apart. Gracie's now 21 and still on the wrong path. She moved back home this year because she ran out of money. Her grandparents left her and BJ money. Her aunt called to inform me they were each getting a big chunk of money and was worried about how Gracie will manage it. Her father shows up 6 months before she's set to receive her inheritance. She and BJ are products of an extramarital affair he had on his wife. His wife nor his family or my sister knew about one another until my sister filed for child support. It was a big mess. Anyhow, I can count on my hand how many times he's seen them since they've been little. He only calls sporadically. BJ cut him out of his life, long time ago. Gracie longs for a relationship with him and he plays on it. I told her he was only around because of the inheritance, and I wanted her to be careful. She gets upset and tells me to stay out of her life, that she's grown. She gets her money and runs through it. I heard her crying to her friend about how she helped her father and hadn't heard from him since. She comes to me the following day talking about getting her life on track and wants to go to college. Part of her money she was going to take and go to college. Didn't happen. She asked me to pay for school. I asked what happened to her money. Then she frowns and responds, "I don't have much left and I hope my father, now he's dodging me. Are you happy now? Is that what you wanted to hear?" I told her unfortunately no, I didn't want to hear that. But I'm sorry I'm not paying. You're grown. She hasn't spoken to me in weeks. Not the a-hole. You can't help people who don't want to be helped. She had to learn who her father truly was, and losing the money was the only way she would learn. You did your best. 2 children of your own who had to adjust to having their 3 cousins basically become their siblings. And the 3 children who lost their mother and never had a father while adjusting to living in someone else's life and home. I'd say you did a pretty good job, if only one of them is confused about their life. She will find her way eventually. She has to hit bottom, true bottom. Not the a-hole. She had not 1 but 2 inheritances that she should have saved for her college, but instead decided to spend it and give it to a man who you already warned her was just after her money. As soon as he asked her for money, she should have been smart enough to be like, "No, I'm not giving you money. If you want to spend time with me, you spend time with me. You're not getting a part of my inheritance. It's for college." But no, instead she decided I'm going to give him money and hopefully he'll love me. Which is sad, but a life lesson she obviously had to learn, and you are under no obligation to pay for anything. Also, make sure she doesn't try and take any money away from her younger siblings. Haha. My sister Laura, 27 female, was adopted by our parents at 12 years old. She really never bonded to our parents. Laura attended therapy, and my parents showered her in love and attention, but they never managed to have a close relationship. I, 24 male, was the only one with whom Laura was able to open up. My grandmother, 87 female, was also very fond of Laura. However, she always rejected her affections, and on many occasions she was rude to my grandmother. Laura went to college, fully paid for by my parents, at 18, and moved away from home. Her housing and transportation was paid by our parents as well. When she graduated at 22, she cut off all contact with our family. We later found out that her adoptive family contacted her a little after she turned 18, and they kept in touch for the 4 years of college. Laura waited for my parents to finish paying for her university to move in with her biological parents. Obviously, my parents were devastated. With a lot of effort, they managed to get out of their sadness and life went back to being normal. We haven't heard from Laura in 5 years. My grandmother recently passed away and she left an inheritance and will. Somehow, Laura found out about my grandmother's death and appeared at the meeting where the will was to be read. The commotion was so great that the reading of the will was postponed. That happened last week. Laura left her contact information with my grandmother's attorney. Today was the reading of my grandma's will, and Laura was there, since she is still legally the daughter of my parents and the lawyer did not want to read my grandmother's will without her. My grandmother left Laura one of her rings of average value and an amount of approximately 10 USD. Compared to what she left me and my cousins, it's nothing. Laura was furious. She threw a tantrum and said that surely my parents had manipulated my grandmother to make her leave nothing for her. At this point, my dad was crying. I got angry and told her that she had no right to anything that my grandmother left because she was the one that cut off contact, not us. I also called her some not very pretty names. Laura called me an a-hole and left the place. Now my mother is mad at me because she thinks this was our chance to talk to Laura again and reestablish a relationship with her, and that I ruined that opportunity. Not the a-hole. Also, your parents are wrong. Laura wasn't there to reconnect. She was only there for the money. OP's mom is absolutely blinded by her own desperation in order to not see the glaring sign Laura's holding that says, "I still don't care about any of you." Not the a-hole. Laura ducked off and cut contact after 5 years, after your parents finished paying off her university fees. And now she's throwing a tantrum because she thinks she's entitled to your deceased grandmother's stuff. She's entitled, and sounds like a giant a-hole. She did you a favor when she cut contact, and she should have stayed away. Your parents are still grieving, and Laura was a massive a-hole to show up when they were grieving the loss of your grandmother and potentially try to take advantage of that emotional state. Also, 10 USD is about all I would have left her too, just to stop her contesting the will. But if that wasn't an issue, I'd say that $10 is maybe $10 too much. Ha. I have a brother, and I'm 15 years older than he is. Our parents died when I was 21, and I took in my brother. The only proper thing my parents did was invest in real estate and left behind a will that left me and my brother half. However, I am the trustee of my brother's half until he is 35. My brother married at 22. He's 25 now. I don't like his wife. She's self-centered, a witch, nasty, and can't be nice. But my brother is in love with her. They are very open about never having children, which both saddens and relieves me at the same time. My brother also has some health issues as well. Whenever my brother needed money and he did not have it, he works as a machinist. He would have to ask me. I run his half of the inheritance. I sold all the real estate my parents owned and made a ton of money. I am very strict with what I approve, much to my brother's anger. I tell him I might be his brother, but I'm also the bank, and banks just don't give money out. For example, he wanted to buy his wife a $25,000 necklace, and I refused. $25,000 is a drop in the bucket, but that money isn't going to be wasted on stuff like that. Recently, he wanted to buy a nice house and asked for money. I told him that it was probably the smartest thing he's ever asked money for. It's a nice house and a good investment. It will give my brother a good project to work on. I said I would, but only if the house deed is in the name of the trust. He asked why. I told him because I didn't want his wife getting it if something should happen. He started up with his whole, "it's my money" rant, and I told him it is, but I control it for another 10 years. His wife ended up calling me. I haven't spoken to her in years. She tried making the issue of the house as something for my brother. I told her that the trust is between me and my brother, and it's none of her business. She has no claim on it. She asked what did she do to me that made me hate her. I said I don't hate her. I just want to make sure she doesn't get any of the trust money. The idea of my brother getting ill and dying and all that money going to her makes me sick to my stomach. He lost both parents when he was 7, had health issues, and has a massive trust. I'm just doing everything I can legally to watch out for his best interest. I've not heard from them in 2 weeks. Edit. I forgot to mention this, but his wife encouraged him to get a lawyer to wrestle control of his half away from me. But even he didn't want to do that, because he knows the trust is ironclad, and all hell would break loose. Edit. For people saying it's his money, it is not his money. It doesn't become his until 2030. Edit. For people wondering why he has to be 35, that was decided by the courts, not me. Edit. About the necklace. My brother called me and asked me to wire him $25K. I asked him for what. He and his wife randomly took a trip to LA and were at Cartier of Beverly Hills. He wanted to buy a couture necklace for his wife. I told him no. Edit. My brother does get a monthly allowance. That allowance includes his rent and medical insurance costs. He has those bills sent to me, and I either pay them or I don't. Anything to do with his wife, I won't pay. Edit. My brother has cystic fibrosis. Yes, the a-hole. So you've become the controlling parent now. I suppose as executor of the estate you have that right, but the cost seems high. I would say not the a-hole. I have a trust that I can't access till I'm 30. I'm 27 now. I'm thankful that my aunt, who is in control of the trust at the moment, hasn't given me anything except a car, money from the trust, and offers to pay for school. I have gained 50K in the last 8 years, which will help me when I'm 30 and have access. She is doing what's smart for the money. Yes, the a-hole. He is an adult, and adults get to make decisions that other people disapprove of. You are using the money to control him, and from the way you talk, I suspect the reason you don't like his wife is that she stands up to you. If you give a damn about your brother's long-term financial health, set him up with a financial advisor who specializes in helping people lay out budgets and plan for the future. The way you are going now, the second he gets control of the trust, he will burn through the money and cut off all contact with you until he comes begging for yours. I think the wife is clearly showing that she feels entitled to spend this money. Do you think the brother just one day decided he wanted to buy his wife a 25K necklace? I very much doubt that is something he came up with on his own. My husband hosted a dinner party last night for his family. They tend to have a big one 2 or 3 times during the summer, and it was my husband's turn. It was also my 17-year-old son Luke and I's first time meeting his extended family. We both come from pretty well-off families, but his is pretty snobby from what my husband told me. I was a bit nervous, but Luke was a mess. My husband and his stepsisters tried comforting him, but by the time everyone arrived, he would not leave my side. It was okay-ish. They were definitely snobby, but most of them were okay. Maybe slightly out of touch, but harmless. The real issue was dinner. Everyone was sitting at the dining table, and my husband told us earlier that his family say grace before eating, so we were waiting for everyone to get situated. I then noticed Luke fidgeting, and he was starting to sweat as well. I grabbed his hand to calm him down, and he was shaking. I was extremely confused and concerned, and next thing I knew, he had taken a large bite of the mashed potato on his plate. Nobody cared or noticed except my sister-in-law, who was sitting right in front of him. She gasped very dramatically and said, "I can't believe he ate before grace. How disrespectful." She then turned to my husband and said, "Your wife is lovely, but I'm getting bad vibes from the boy." I was shocked and immediately told her to watch your mouth. Her husband, sister-in-law's not mine, then told me to watch my son. By that point, my husband told them to shut the duck up or leave, so they shut up. But it was pretty awkward, and my sister-in-law was glaring at me the whole time. Before leaving, she told me that I ruined dinner and that she can see where my son gets his behavior from. She implied I was the a-hole for telling her to watch her mouth and embarrassing her and being rude. My husband told me to ignore her, but her other sister and his mother as well are asking me to apologize and start disciplining my son. So, am I the a-hole? It's pretty low stakes as I'm more concerned about my son's behavior. He's been acting extremely out of character, but I want some perspective. Not the a-hole. Discipline your son for taking a bite of food before a grace that his household normally doesn't even say. Ridiculous. Not the a-hole. She disrespected your son in his own home after you made the accommodations for their religious practices that you clearly do not follow yourselves. The entitlement and cruelty of so many Christians really knows no bounds. Update. As a lot of you are aware, my focus was my son, and I told my husband as much, which he respected. He said he would deal with his sister, and he did. But my father-in-law had a pretty terrifying health scare, and we were forced to meet. I didn't want to cause a scene considering the circumstances, but my sister-in-law apologized for saying the things she said, but she also told me that she still believes that my son was disrespectful. She then told me that she had noticed him sneakily eating stuff off the dinner table all night, so before the dinner, and thought that was something I should be aware of. I told her that she needed to apologize to my son, and I don't care about what she finds disrespectful. She just walked off, so I don't know, there wasn't much improvement there. She's also back in the States now, and we won't be seeing her for a while. As for my son, the thing she told me about my son sneakily eating stuff concerned me for a couple reasons, and basically after pairing that with the extreme anxiety and similar behaviors with food, we managed to book an earlier appointment with not a therapist like originally planned, but our doctor. We were then referred to a mental health professional, and after some time he was diagnosed with OCD. Not gonna go into detail about that, but it's been pretty confusing, and I'm just thankful we were able to see a healthcare professional so quickly. We now have a therapy appointment specifically regarding his OCD in the next week, and we're taking this all one step at a time. Also, despite my mother-in-law's previous beliefs about the incident, she has been extremely supportive and told me that she's been thinking it over and that she doesn't think I was in the wrong, as I was just defending my child, who she believes did nothing wrong either. She apologized and now we're cool again. My recently ex-fiancé cheated on me less than 2 months after we got engaged. Obviously, we're no longer engaged. He proposed with a Cartier love bracelet instead of a ring, and we were going to look for a ring together, but yeah. Looking at the bracelet made me sick, so I was planning on selling it or something, just getting rid of it. My brother asked if he could have it to give to his girlfriend if I was trying to get rid of it, and I said sure, since I like his girlfriend a lot, and it's a pretty ducking lightly used bracelet considering. Apparently, he sold it online instead of giving it to his girlfriend, for like 4.5K, because turns out the bracelet is fake. His customer is demanding a refund with the threat of legal action, and my brother can't cough the cash up because he already spent it. He's expecting me to help him cover it so he doesn't get sued, but I don't really trust him to pay me back if I do. He says it's my fault because I didn't say it was fake, but I also didn't know. My ex-fiancé told me it was real. It came in the Cartier box and I trusted him. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your brother thought he was scamming you out of money by pretending it was a gift for his girlfriend. Turns out, he was actually scamming a stranger. Regardless, no need for you to fix it, so he's back only scamming you. Not the a-hole. Not your problem. Don't jump down this rabbit hole. Do not give him a single red cent. Here's the reality of litigation. It is extremely difficult if you aren't a lawyer. It's nearly impossible from another state, and collecting 4.5K from someone who is broke is impossible. Any money you give may very well disappear in the same the 4.5K did. Not the a-hole. Your brother asked for that bracelet under false pretenses and didn't bother to make sure it was real before selling it on eBay or something. If what you are saying is true, and you had no idea it was fake, then it's all on him. You naturally assumed he was giving it to his girlfriend, and not selling it, so you had no reason to check if it was real, and just assumed it was. Given the circumstances, it was given to you.